G'day and welcome back. Today I'm going to be trying to work out what wheel size I can fit inside my forks and frame for my Valencia project. So there's basically three really common sizes when it comes to this type of arrangement. So one would be the 622mm rim, also known as 700C. 630 is really common, which is 27 by 1 1/4, and also 642 is quite common, which is 28 by 1 3/8. So without further ado, I'm going to try this guy, see if I fit. Now, a little bit too far the other way. That's all right, bring him in with it. Oh, I think that's going. This wheel won't go in smoothly because instead of being a 10mm dropout, it's a 3/8 dropout. Alright. In which case, we'll try the rear of the frame and see if that's going to work, because I don't want to force anything that's going to cause damage to it. So the diameter in here is smaller than the 9mm that this section of the dropout's designed for. So come back, try the rear of the frame and see if we have some more luck with that. Great, now we're back with the main section of the frame in the stand. Put this wheel back in and see how we're looking. So it's only going to be positioned on one side of the dropout, just for sort of spacing calculations. So I've got that in there. We'll have a look at some of the gaps. I don't have any 120mm wheels on hand, so I've basically just got a front wheel in the front here, or in the dropout here, and our spacing side to side is going to be a bit off, but the diameter of the wheel is going to be the same, so that's going to give us an indication as to if this wheel is close to the right size. This is quite a large tyre, and you can see there's quite a large gap up to the brake boss up here, and quite a large gap in here as well. So that indicates to me that this could be designed for a different size brake. What I'm going to do now is measure from the bottom of this to the bottom of the brake track, or the centre of the brake track, and that's going to tell me if I can get a brake caliper that's going to fit this wheel, or if I need to get a larger size wheel. It's starting to look like it's going to be a 27-inch bike, but we'll measure it and see how we're looking. So thinking about it, there's actually two measurements I'm going to make here. So one is the gap the tyre has, and then I'll measure the distance to the brake track as well. So I'll do both of those measurements. That's going to give me some food for thought when it comes to working out wheel size for this bike. So start with, let's go this way. Righto, so that's telling me we've got nearly 18mm of clearance in that plane. And now we'll just measure the distance to the centre of the brake track. Just quick and dirty, so about 61mm. So what that's telling me is 700C is going to work in this bike. What we're going to need is, well, an extra 4mm is what we're going to get at a 27 wheel, because that's 8mm bigger all the way around. So it's going to be 4mm on one side. So if this was 4mm further out, things would be a bit more sensible and would be a bit closer to everything, just being able to access brake calipers and whatnot. So we're going to work on these numbers and see how we're looking. Rightio, so now I know how much gap I've got in the frame and what wheels are likely to fit. I've got a few different options. So I've done a little bit of digging in terms of brake calipers, and up to about 72mm reach is like pretty readily available. So what that means is I can use 700C, I can use 27-inch by 1 1/4. This uses like a 622 rim. This is 630 rim. I'll see, whatever. And 28 by 1 3/8. Could use that as well, which is a 642 rim. So either of those are possible to fit inside the bike. So this would spit out to about a 60mm gap, which is cool. Get some fenders in there, no worries, fit whatever tyre I want. Can run some pretty bulky sort of tyres. Benefit of 700C is way more tyre options than any other two. A lot of rim compatibility, might not find as much old stuff, but 700C is looking pretty attractive because the tyre availability is just phenomenal for 700C. You get everything from a 19mm tyre up to something monstrous. So I can play around with the fitment a lot more with 700C. And I know now that I can get calipers that will work with that combination. And if running a candy brake as well, sometimes long reach calipers, they don't work all that great because there's a leverage disadvantage from using longer reach calipers. So what you kind of get is a longer arm with a brake pad that has a pivot point up here is going to have less leverage and therefore clamping force on the bike than a sort of shorter reach caliper. So there are benefits to using a shorter caliper, but in my case, the braking power is less important. The handbrakes are going to only really be there for emergency, like if I break a chain using the coaster, or if I cook the coaster, or just if for whatever reason I can't use the coaster brake. So that's one option. This will give me 56mm, and this combination will give me 50. That's getting a bit tight, so if I want to run bigger tyres than what I've got, so I tested it with a 33mm tyre. And to the top of the tyre, I think I was getting something like 19mm gap. So it's going to get a bit close with that, not really the best option. And I think for the tyre availability, I'm just going to rock the 700s, unless I find a ripper deal on some 27s. But even then, I think for longevity and ease of setup, I'm going to rock 700C. So based on that, get some 700C wheels for myself, unless I can find something else readily available very cheap. And then I guess if I start breaking rims, I could always just change back to 700C and just use the nice hubs and whatever I find. So get myself some nice long reach calipers, whatever they happen to be, once I decide on if I'm going to go a flat bar or a drop bar, because they're going to have different ratios for the pull depending on what levers I require. And we'll start looking at some 700C wheels. Fantastic, that's how you spec some wheels for a bike of unknown quantity.